50 years ago, Charles Darwin made us think differently about the nature surrounding us, our own history, and the nature in us, and how we are relating to the world around us. Dennett is a very well-known US philosopher. He has thought a lot about how Darwin has made us think differently about us and what surrounds us. Today is a great honor to welcome him to this house, to Oslo, and to introduce him to give a presentation on the evolution of why, the question why. Dennett.
Would it be possible to have the house lights up a little bit? I like to. Thank you. I like to see the faces. Much better for me. This is a lecture, not drama. Okay. I'm delighted to be back in Oslo and thrilled to see such a large crowd, and I gather there's more upstairs. Hello upstairs. And so without further ado, let me begin. This is one of my favorite cartoons. And of course, in particular, you get why. And in the end, why me, but why? The difference between the dog and the man in this picture is what I'm going to be talking about, and how it came about, and what it means, what's the importance of it. And as Neil said, this is Darwin year, and so it's going to be a talk about Darwin. Here's a question that I'm going to be approaching. What were reasons before anybody asked why? Were there reasons before anybody asked why? Now the old answer is this, surely. God has his reasons. God works in mysterious ways. But that won't do anymore. So we go back to the question, what were reasons before anybody asked why? Now, yes, I know. I don't know why I get this reaction. Maybe this explains why I get invited to give so many lectures at Darwin here. But it's actually all just accidental. As I told somebody the other day, I was actually setting out to look like Rasputin, and then I got older, and it just happened this way. In any case, why was Darwin's idea such a great idea? And the answer is very simple, and also, I think, very profound. Darwin, unlike any other scientific idea, unlike any other philosophical idea, his idea united the world of purposeless causation with the world of meaning. You go all the way from physics to ethics and to poetry, all in a single unified perspective. It is the most unifying idea that anybody's ever had. And the realms that it unifies are stunningly different. Now, it's not that there wasn't a pre-Darwinian worldview which had a certain wonderful unity to it, and it's very familiar to us from, for instance, the Sistine Chapel and the central panel, where Michelangelo shows God putting the finishing touches on his most magnificent creation, Adam. Well, this we might call the trickle-down theory of creation. It takes a big, fancy, wonderful, stupendously wonderful thing to make a slightly less wonderful thing. And this is an idea that I think in some regards may have been around even before Homo sapiens. Even some of our ancestors, Homo habilis, the handyman, may have had some dim appreciation of the fact that it takes a big, fancy thing. Homo habilis made simple flaked stone tools, for instance. You never see a pot making a potter. You never see a horseshoe making a blacksmith. It's always smart, wonderful things making rather lesser things. That's the trickle-down theory. And so, it seems, until we get the bubble-up theory of creation, and that's Darwin's theory. Now, here, I'm not going to read all of this. You can read it. In fact, this is right at the end of chapter 4 of Origin of Species. And here in a single paragraph is the theory. And I'm just going to draw attention to the fact that there is a very straightforward argument here, which we can just read together. If beings vary at all, and if there be a severe struggle for life, then if variations useful to any organic being do occur, assuredly individuals thus characterized will have the best chance of being preserved in the struggle for life, and from the strong principle of inheritance, they will tend to produce offspring similarly characterized. This principle of preservation I have called, for the sake of brevity, natural selection. There it is. That's the idea. It's really stunningly simple on the face of it. And yet people often discover that its implications are very hard to get their heads around and very hard to accept. And an early critic of Darwin summed this up in a passage I love to read because it is, well, so full of passion. And this is from a man named Mackenzie. It was published in the Athenaeum, which was sort of like the New York Review of Books of its day, a very central intellectual magazine. In the theory with which we have to deal, absolute ignorance is the artificer, so that we may enunciate as the fundamental principle of the whole system that, in order to make a perfect and beautiful machine, it is not requisite to know how to make it. He put the capital letters in the original. This proposition will be found on careful examination to express in condensed form the essential purport of the theory, and to express in a few words all Mr. Darwin's meaning, who, by a strange inversion of reasoning, seems to think absolute ignorance fully qualified to take the place of absolute wisdom in all the achievements of creative skill. Yes, exactly. He's got it. That is right, and it is a strange inversion of reasoning. He's got it. A creationist pamphlet has the following amusing page in it. Do you know of any building that didn't have a builder? Do you know of any painting that didn't have a painter? Do you know of any car that didn't have a maker? If you answered yes for any of the above, give details. Aha! Take that, you evolutionist. And yet, and this is what Darwin's saying, and it's this fact that is so hard for people to get their heads around and to accept. Because it's clear that you never see a car without a maker. You never see a painting without a painter. And yet here's Darwin claiming otherwise. Now another one of my heroes is Alan Turing.